Hey guys! Today's video is part 2 of assembling a knitting machine hat, just like this one. If you haven't seen the previous video where we knit this tube and walk through the basics of the Addi knitting machine, you can find it in the video description below. So just to recap, we knit this hat on the Addi knitting machine king size, and it has around 120 rows, which is what I found to be a good length for an adult-sized hat. It's made using the yarn I Love This Yarn acrylic in the colors pink and hot orchid, and I change colors about every 10 rows. Lastly, before we jump in, if you like craft, knitting, or crochet videos and tutorials, be sure to subscribe to my channel for more crafty content. So let's get started. To start this project, you'll need to grab a darning needle like this one, scissors, and your knit tube. The first step is going to be securing our color changes and cutting the long tails. We turn the hat inside out, like this. And then we're going to double knot and cut the tails of the color changes. Personally, I like to leave a little tail because cutting the yarn too close to the knot can cause the knot to unravel in the future. Take your time making sure all the tails are secure, because you want to be sure that with a lot of wear and washing, the knots in the hat won't come undone. Continue this all the way down until you have secured and cut the last of the tails. Also, just a tip, make sure to get the ones on the end because they like to hide sometimes. Once you have all the tails cut, then we can turn it back to the right side. The next step is to close up the ends of the hat. You can start on either side. Just pull the tail that we left on so that it cinches closed. As you cinch it, you might have to uncurl the ends, like this, to make sure the closure is as tight as possible. When it's done, it should look like this. And now we can move on to the other side. Here it is from a different angle. Make sure you remember to uncurl the hat as you cinch. The tighter the closure, the better the hat will end up looking. Now both ends are cinched and we can go to the next step. The next step is to fold the hat in on itself. How I start is by seeing which side I want to be on the inside of the hat, which for me is this one. Now I take the tail attached to that side and thread on my darning needle. Now we are going to thread the needle through the hat, starting in this hole and coming out the other. So here's how I do it without accidentally ruining the hat, by snagging your needle on the middle of the tube. It looks weird, but I put my fingers through both the ends of the hat and come to the middle where they touch. Then stick one finger through one side. I take my needle, touch it to my finger, and then guide the needle through the hat. I found that this works after a lot of trial and error. I made a few hats without doing this, and my needle kept accidentally going through the side of the hat, like this. And when I went to close it, I ended up ruining the hat. Continue pulling the tail you weaved through until the hat has folded in on itself. You can take this time to adjust the hat, making sure there are no wrinkles and it lays flat. Now it's starting to take shape. Let's turn it this way and you can see the inner and outer layer. Give them both one more cinch to tighten it. So this is what your hat will look like, and this is what it will look like on the inside. Next, we take the 2 tail ends and we are going to tie 2 knots. 1 knot, pull it tight, and then another knot. When that's done, take both tail ends and thread them on your darning needle. And we're going to be sewing the ends of the hat closed. We need to make sure as we're sewing it closed that we get both layers of the hat. Let's start sewing. I insert the needle here, making sure to go underneath both layers of the hat and have it come out on this side. Pull the rest of the yarn through and you'll see that the hat is starting to look closed. Let's see what it looks like on the inside. There, we can see that we successfully went through both layers and are fully closing the hat. Now let's repeat the process again. Bring the needle back down and insert it where you did the first time. And again, make sure to grab both layers of the hat as you sew it closed. Now on the inside, you can hardly see the tails that hold it together, and in the end, you shouldn't be able to see the thread at all. Now that we've sewn the hat closed twice, and it looks good, we're going to tie another knot to secure it. I have a special way of tying the last few knots, which again I found out through trial and error. You can see here that I have my 2 tails coming out of the same hole. I don't want this because if I tie a knot as it is now, the knot will fall through the hat. I'm going to take one tail and move it over 1 or 2 stitches so it doesn't come out of the same hole. So start by taking one of your tails, it doesn't matter which one, and threading it back on your darning needle. Move it over a stitch so it ends up anchoring the knot you're about to make. So this is what you want, one tail coming out of here and the other coming out of here. Now take these 2 tails and let's tie a double knot to really secure it. Make sure to pull them tight and there you go. Your hat is now secure and it's time for the last step, weaving in the tail. Take both your yarn tails and thread them on your needle. Then thread the needle into the hat, starting near the double knot we just made. Make sure to go in between the 2 layers of the hat. And as you pull, the securing knot we made should disappear in between the layers. Repeat this a few times, weaving your tails in between the hat down its side. Finally, cut the tails, give your hat a little stretch, and watch the tail vanish into the hat. It's my favorite part. Ta-da! Your beanie is finished and ready to be worn. If done right, you shouldn't be able to see the connecting yarn we tied the hat together with. If you guys like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. It really means a lot. I can't wait to make more videos and share more crafting tips with you. Until next time, bye!